We want to show little heroic, wonderful things that I think a lot of nurses do, but it's that kindness and that honor that is done in the shadows that people don't know about. Doctors brag about this stuff. I don't think nurses do.
They're so compassionate. They're like the patient's advocate.
They are the ultimate caretaker.
Typically, historically, the roles have been sort of quite fairly masculine and feminine, or that, you know, the doctor has been like the father figure who's the person who fixes you technically, and the nurse has been the mother figure who cares for you emotionally, and the doctor's role seems to be often more, you know, literally the nuts and the bolts, like the technician.
It's not just the technicalities of, putting gauze on wounds and, taking temperatures and IVs and all that stuff. There's a soulful, spiritual connection they need to have with the patients as well.
Hang in there, little man. Unfortunately, nurses, I think, are being misrepresented or underrepresented.
All the medical shows out there historically have really been about doctors, and you get to a point where, I think that as an audience member, you're just numb to what that is.
Blood in the ear. Let's check for glucose, rule out CSF, all right? This guy needs a scan.
I know what I'm doing. Jesus, bossy.
We all have this feeling about doctors in our culture that is sort of this, heavy is the head that wears the crown. Oh, it must be so difficult to be the one who saves lives and hold the power of life and death in your hand and, drive a BMW 7 Series, and maybe you're an alcoholic pediatrician, but people love you, and whatever. The people who hold your hand, the people who change your beds, the people who monitor your meds,
and who often know something's wrong before the doctor,
who talk to your family. Yeah. Doctors diagnose, nurses heal. And you'll hear that from nurses all the time. Doctors diagnose, nurses heal. And we wanted to tell the story about a hospital through a nurse. But it couldn't just be a nurse who rides shotgun to a doctor. It has to be a hospital that rides shotgun to a nurse.
Gloria, can you be a nurse again for 1 second? Stick your head in there and tell me what you see.
He's dying.
Yes, he is.
All right. He can have till the end of your shift.
I think more people have nurse stories than they do doctor stories. I mean, it's amazing. We've had some friends who've gone through some bouts of cancer, and you hear the nurses are who get you through it. I'm not putting down doctors. We love doctors, but this is the little guy. This is the stories that haven't been told.
I was in an ER, and a guy came in, and we ended up doing a story about it. He had just a few weeks before been in for a hernia operation, and his intestines were popping out when they brought him in. Now, the nurse that I was with, the guy comes in on the paramedics wheel him in, and they're like, oh yeah, his intestines are sticking out. And she looks at him, she's like, oh, it's Mr. Golightly. Hi, Mr. Golightly, how you doing? And, this is just, it's like she worked in a hardware store, and last week he was in buying a bag of nails. I mean, these people.
All Saints is in the business of flipping beds. That's it, end of story. The fact that you have even the slightest inclination to help people puts you miles ahead of 100% of the population.
It's a pretty selfless occupation, man. I mean, you have to really enjoy giving people comfort and helping other people for your living. It's pretty wild.
They clean our bedpans. They break the news to the family. They sit by your bedside. They check in on you in the middle of the night. We trust them for a reason, and they have yet to truly violate our trust in any major way.
You go to a hospital it's about the nursing care you receive. The doctor is in and out quick, and although in the ER the nurses may be in and out quick, the nurses are driving most of. The doctor a coop may not admit that, but my feeling being in the emergency room so long is that the nurses really drive that whole process.
After we did the pilot, I went to an ER for like half a day and then another half day, and it's a little amazing what they do for a living. They clean up other people's shit, or they help other people's loved ones die.
I think when you're sick, it's kind of like war. It brings out the best and worst in you, but it brings out the worst in a lot of people, and they grump and gripe and whine and scream. There you are to remind them everything's going to be okay or not. And clean them up and you know, dust them off and get them well.
Nurses are the ones that are there and take care of you, you know, and doctors often, it's just the nature of their job, I guess, breeze in and out periodically.
It's that never spoken about person that's doing the runaround for you and advocating for the patient all the time.
Getting home at the end of a day of work as a nurse must be hugely satisfying. You know, you really have done real good work.
It's like every single day, every single person, they're doing the hardest things or some of the hardest things that you would have to do in life, and they choose to.
Thank God for nurses, you know.